We are now live. This is Real Life Money Monday. We have already had the entertainment trying to hook up to this technology. But I promise you guys, whoever's tuning in right here and whoever's listening to this, watching this, wherever you're watching it, is going to be well worth it. Yeah, so first of all, what I'm going to ask is, I know we're a little bit late now for the people who are watching it live, but you just need to comment on the post. You need to comment so we can see you, yeah, who you are. And if you've got any questions for our awesome panel member this evening, oh my goodness, it's going to be amazing. So I'm going to just get this shared on my timeline right here. Yeah, we're also going to share it into some groups. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, and let's see who is on here. So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be an awesome Money Monday panel this evening. We are here with awesome guest who is Neville Wright. And as you can see in the crawler right there, it's how I turned 37 pence into £100 million. So listen, give that a share and give that some tags of some people that you may know who might be interested in hearing such a story and how we do that. So we've got a few people starting to comment on it. So do tag some other people. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, Sean. Let's tag some people who are in the Real Life Tribe. Let's tag some people who are not as well. And let's get this started. We are a little bit late, but there is a saying that says late than never. Better late than never. But thank you so much, Neville, for agreeing to come on here and share all your value, share all your wisdom, all your experience in the time that we have allocated. It is such a pleasure to have you on here. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's an honor.
Good, and we got there in the end. So interesting story. The way I would like to just make this introduction was I actually received a message from you on LinkedIn. This is some years ago, just saying, hey, I think you might like my book. And just I don't know what it was. I was just like, yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, if someone wants me to read their book, I'll read their book. Yeah, that's the exact book right there. Yeah, that's the exact book. In fact, let me just take this book. Where's my book? Where's my book? Because I will have written in there.
You sold it.
Yeah, I sold it. I will have written in there. Where is this book? Definitely the dates that I read it. Yeah, I don't know where this book is. It's a big old book, right? Where is the book? Can you see your own book?
No, I can't. I'll send you another.
What color is the?
What color? It's white. It's white on the edge.
On the spine, a white. I'm looking for white. This is what I'm looking for.
Anyway, shall I do an advert?
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so I've got the book. Let's have a look when I read this and how long it took me to read. Oh, wow. So I started reading on the 12th of February, 2019, and I finished it on the 18th of March, 2019. Yeah, so this was a gift, as in like you telling me to say, hey, I think you might like my book. Now, I ordered the book and I read it. The answer is yes. Now, what's the question? So I like that. And I also like, hey, 37 pence, £100 million. Sounds like a journey I'm on. Let me read and see what I can learn. And I didn't actually know how much like information was going to be in this book, but not just about life and business, but also then about property as well. So a lot of people who'll be watching this, they are into property. So it'd be awesome to go across some of that. And yeah, anyway, having read the book a few years down the line, reached back out to you, interested in, learning more from you and tapping into your experience as well. So here we are, and we're going to share it with the rest of the world or whoever's watching as well. So what I loved is the fact, and what I'd like to hear from you, and I think the people would love to as well, is just how you started. So before you tell us like kind of how like life started for you in the beginning, I think it would be awesome if you just share with us, because I remember reading in the book how much did you pay for your first house, the first house you were buying as a property investor or for investment? How much did you pay for the house? Do you remember?
I do. I paid £650.
Oh my goodness.
It was £1,075 was the asking price, and I got 36% off the asking price. So, but the reason I bid £650 was because that's what I had. So that was my first lesson in business. It was like, take a notice of the price. What have you got? And offer that. So you'll be amazed, you know, what people will do. So yeah. They took it, and it had a roof on it, and it didn't have any water or electricity. It had the old gas pipes, the gas lamps in it. It didn't have a kitchen. That was outside in the scullery. It was outside. But it was the properties that I looked at before. There was one of 450. We didn't have that. They'd got air conditioning. And what I mean by air conditioning in 1966 was it hadn't got a roof. So the roof had gone, and that was the kind of properties we were looking at. But this was good. It got a roof, and it didn't leak. So £650.
So what was the best thing that happened that year? Was it you buying that house or England winning the World Cup?
Me buying the house. Yes, because that house, I've made £16 million out of that house. Wow. Now, I with selling it and buying something else and selling it and buying something else, I worked it out that was £16 million. Now, if I'd have kept it, the house would have been worth 150,000 today, and the rent I would be getting off it would have paid for the 650 plus the 350 I paid for renovations, £1,000. That would have been giving me the money back every, I think, 63 days, something like that. So
wow.
But I was better off taking that money and investing it. A lot of people ask me, or a lot of people tell me rather, they've bought a house or 2 or 3 houses for their children, and their children are like a year old, and they're going to keep them until they're 18 and give them. And I said, well, what about churning those houses over, flipping them over and over and over and over, so they haven't got one house like in my instance worth £150,000 50 years later. They'll have something for the children, £1 million or £2 million. So working that money has made me £16 million on that. So
that is awesome. And I suppose we've all got to agree with your answer that the best thing that happened that year was you buying that house, because it was the first time you bought a house, the first time we won a World Cup, but at least you went on to buy other houses and build other businesses as well. We're still waiting. We're still waiting for the second one. So, you know, just give us a little bit of background, because, you know, we could fill the time here very easily, I'm sure. But like, give us just a bit of background. Like, how did you start in life? Like, what was your start in life, and then the transition?
It was an excellent start in life because I had dyslexia and ADHD. So I didn't realize I got ADHD until years later, because and dyslexia, I didn't know I had got dyslexia. I still have it. Obviously, you don't get rid of it. So therefore, I say it's a good start, because people, when you don't understand how to join the letters together, when they're all jumbled up and every time you blink your eyes, they move places, they say you're stupid and dumb. So it was a shit time in life. It was, because when a teacher says you're stupid and you're dumb, that's a green light for the rest of the class to copy the teacher. And so it wasn't very good because they didn't know what dyslexia was. They just thought you were stupid. So I was put in the stupid corner with the or the stupid area of the school, of the class. And but you do learn things, and you learn to get round difficult situations, whereas other people just float, and they go to the blackboard and they've got names on the blackboard and they point to cat, dog, rabbit, whatever it is. And if there's, it's in my book, there was a load of squares on the blackboard and they would put cat, dog, milk, blah, blah, blah in it. And I used to listen to where the other kids pointed. And I thought, well, third across is cow, fourth across and one down is dog, you know. And I always had to give myself 3 things just in case the kid next to me said the same thing. So what happened is I got the words right, but only because I copied other kids and I knew what square was the answer in. So that buggered me up though when they started reading books, because I hadn't got a clue what page we was on. And of course, when you get a good slapping for not paying attention, because that's what they were saying, I wasn't paying attention. So you get a good slapping, and all that doesn't teach you how to spell. That teach you on the Wednesday afternoon, you don't go to school because you don't want a slapping. So the teachers actually teach you truancy. And people wonder why kids are bunking off school. No, just find out when they're bunking off school, what lessons they should be having, and scrap those lessons or do something about it, because it's the teachers who have taught them that to be a truant on those days.
Yeah, super interesting. So like look, this is got to be useful for people to, because many people have got excuses of why they can't do it, why they're not going to go and have an impact, or why they should just, you know, sit following that plan that's laid out for them, go to school, learn whatever they tell you, go get a job, save some money, maybe one day you can retire, hopefully, maybe, whatever that is. Yeah. So what made it, like, where did you make the switch? What happened in your life where you was like, I'm not on that plan, I'm going on a different plan? What switched?
Well, when you've got when you're stupid, you end up being bullied, and so therefore I had, from the age of 15 to 24, I had 17 jobs, because it doesn't matter whether you can do the job or not. In the 50s and 60s and early 70s, if you couldn't read or write, if you could do the job, which I could do, they would promote you, especially if you'd got a bit of thought, you know. And I was pretty good at chess when I was at school. When I was 12, I was pretty good at chess, and that was about the only thing I was good at. And so I could organize people and organize things, and like time and motion and everything. So you used to get promoted, even though you didn't want to. It was just in your nature to do things in a certain way. So once you got promoted, the first day, you'd probably have to write in the diary how many people was there, what you did. Well, I couldn't. So again, the bullying would start, and the name calling and stuff like that. And then you run to the next job. And it was brilliant, because in the 60s, you could leave a job in the morning and you could get one in the afternoon. But of course, it all came to an end in 1974, when there was a crisis. There was and there was 1 million unemployed. So I had got to put my money where my mouth was. Or I hadn't got any money, but I had to, throughout the years, I'd always said we should be self-employed, should have our own business, because then I would be protected, my wife would be protected, you know, I could protect her and she could read and write and we could work together. And so therefore we'd have our own business. But there was two reasons why we couldn't. One, I'd got no skills, and I thought I'd got no skills, even though I'd had 17 jobs. And the main thing was I'd got no money. And then in 1974, when I was on the dole, there was an extension being built on the opposite side of the road to where I was. And I lived in a 10-foot caravan throughout 73, 74 winter with my wife and a 3-year-old child. And opposite was a place, it was having an extension, and it was commercial premises. And they was having big sheets of glass delivered. And I said to my wife, Marilyn, I said, look, some stupid idiot's got to clean that. And then it dawned, I know somebody who's stupid who could clean them. And it wouldn't cost anything. And I was in business. I was then. You know, it was me. So it cost 37 pence for a piece of scrim. I borrowed my father's ladder. And I knocked on the next door neighbour and said, do you want your windows cleaning? That was on the 27th. The 26th, I started in the business, which was in the afternoon. I was a beggar in the morning, begging for another £2 a week on the dole to feed us. And I had an altercation. I told them where they could stick the job. And in the afternoon, I was chairman of the board. I'd made my first acquisition, which was a 37 piece of scrim, and I'd done my first deal with my dad and asked him if I could borrow his ladder. Anyway, I went to the next door neighbour. I said, I'm a window cleaner now. Do you want your windows cleaned? And then they slammed the door in my face because obviously I was living in a caravan and it didn't. And I think I brought their house value down about 50%. So I went to the next one. And that's another lesson I learned. You know, just because you're rejected in life, it doesn't mean this everybody's going to reject you. So I went to the next door and the next one and the next one. And that's how I started. And I didn't realize I was of any value until people said, you've cleaned those windows better than any other window cleaner that I've had. Well, of course, I didn't know what. I thought you cleaned the windows, but everybody else cleaned the glass. But I cleaned the frames as well. And I wondered how the hell was one window cleaner going down the street and doing 20 houses, and I could only do 3. You know, it was, but do more than you're paid to do, and eventually you get more for what you do. And of course, people could see I was doing a good job, and I didn't even know it. And they'd say, well, can you do something else for me? Because it was the nature of doing something more than you're supposed to do, which I didn't know I was doing. But at the same time, you've got that attitude that you'll make the best job you can. And they would say, can you clean my gutters? Can you mend my fence? Can you unblock my drains? Blah, blah, blah. And the answer was always yes. So that's where the book title come from, because 3 weeks after I started, I was cleaning somebody's windows, and a woman come out and looked up and said, Neville, why are you here? And I said, yes. She said, I haven't even asked a question yet. I said, I would do anything for you as long as it's not immoral or illegal in my mother's eyes. Because my mother always used to thrash me. She had a cane because I was so bad. She always used to say, if you do something wrong, Neville, Lord Jesus will punish you. And if he doesn't, I will. So that was ringing in my ears. And I didn't realize how skilled I was, how much I'd learned in those 17 jobs.
Yeah.
So that took me forward. And a window cleaner, you get people with a window cleaning round, and it's got a ceiling. They can only do 20 houses a day, 5 days a week, and then people have them done every fortnight or whatever. So there's a ceiling to that. I didn't want a ceiling in my life. I wanted to be rich because I'd been so poor. I wanted to be rich. I wanted to be stable. I wanted security for Marilyn, and Marilyn wanted security. because she'd come from a background where there wasn't security, and there was mental issues, which I'll go into later. But this was a situation where I was desperate, and one thing went to another. So it wasn't a window cleaning round, it was a property maintenance business. And that's all window cleaning is, property maintenance. But we carried on. I only did that window cleaning for a few months and gradually got better and better, bigger jobs. And so therefore we invested all the money that we had into tools and equipment just so we could do better jobs for people.
Yeah, and what you just said there is some people don't do it, some people don't know about it, and so, some people class it as just hard work. But what you said is actually do more and provide more than what you're paid for. Yeah, and the first time I heard that was written in a book that Napoleon Hill, wrote, and nobody taught that to me. I'm not sure who taught it to you or how you figured that out, but by doing more, and it's lost in today's society. People just want to do the minimum, right? They want to do the minimum, and we have these contracts and everything to make sure, hey, we're going to do exactly what we've done here. Oh no, we can't, can't deliver more. That costs more, all of that type of stuff.
It was very easy for me to figure it out, and it was simple. You've got two brains, one's in your head, one's in your gut. Well, the brain in my head said, really, I want to win the football pools, to win whatever, the lotto, and do nothing. And that was my brain. The brain in my gut was saying, I'm fucking hungry. I need the next meal. And so that brain won. Do more, I've got to. It wasn't a case of, I didn't want to do it, but I got to force myself and got to go with it. And if you've got a job, you work 95% to keep it. You don't do that extra 5%. So you can do an extra 5%, and be brilliant and earn more money than anybody else. But I wanted to earn a lot. So your general painter and decorator, when I started painting, it was like if they did a window and it took 2 hours, I would charge for that 2 hours, but mentally I'd want to do it in an hour. So and to do that, I'd probably start 2 hours earlier than most people. I would go faster than most people. I wouldn't take my breaks. I wouldn't have a lunchtime. I'd go home 2 hours later. So therefore, I could either do the job cheaper and get as many jobs as I wanted, or I could do it the same price and earn twice as much as anybody else because I was doing twice as much. That's a motivation for me. It was to get out of this, you could say, get out of the slums and get out of poverty. And that was the motivation for me, to get out of poverty and to be my own boss and to have something secure and substantial for ever.
And how old were you when you figured that lesson out?
I think it was the first day I was in business. I was 24. I retired at 24 because when people say, isn't it time you retired? I say, well, I've been retired since I'm 24. What do you class retirement as? Oh, doing what you want to do when you want to do it. Well, okay. I come away from mainstream employment because it didn't suit me. And I did what I wanted to do. I did what I had to do, basically, because I hadn't got any money, only for the piece of scrim. And so I decided, although I'd never cleaned a window in my life, that's what I wanted to do because that's all I was capable of doing. So it's in your mind. Everything is in your mind. You tell yourself, okay, people are being brainwashed every day now by looking at the television and believing what people say. I was having to brainwash myself and believe what I said. If I do this, then I will get more money. And if I then invest the money into tools and equipment, I can get better jobs and work my way up. And eventually I can employ people. But within 3 years, I was employing 6 people, because I realized that if I was doing something on my own, 2 people could do what 3 people could do if they was organized properly. And so I'd got somebody with me. I organized it. Well, Marilyn, for a start, she drove the truck. She would go and get the building materials when we started doing jobs for, you know, and maintenance. She was the only person who would drive the truck, because she would go into the Travis and Perkins, or whoever it was, the Dewsons. There'd be, if it was me, I'd have to wait in line. If there's a 24-year-old girl going in there, well, she'd get served, wouldn't she? She'd get the bricks loaded on the van, whereas I would have to load them. You know, she'd get all the cement and that loaded on for her. It was a goal within a goal. You know, it's like, yeah, I'm not. Yeah. I can get on with the work, you know, and all the other guys could get on with the work, and we could have the materials in twice as quick. So, yeah. You know, there's always something. There's always a plus with everything, you know, and you just got to look for it.
Yeah, and that's so true. Like, you know, action just taking that action just creates opportunity. So I got a question which you kind of answered, but like it takes us on to this next part. But I also remember having that switch of like the price work, you know, like when I left school, it was like day rate, and I just couldn't wait for the day to be over. And it was such a drag. As soon as I was aware of on a building site, hey, you can get paid £1 a block. That's what it was when I first went onto the site. You get £1 a block, or 320 1,000 for bricks. That's what it was then. I know it's a lot more now because of the situation, but that totally switched my mind. I was prepared to get up early. I was prepared to get there early, you know, work as hard. Yeah, forget breaks, all of that. Just have a sandwich, you know, quickly, and then carry on, you know, and that was a switch. And what people don't see from this switch of, like, let's say employment to either self-employment or running a business or following their dream. It could just be even following their dream, you know, because it could be an employee in someone else's business, as long as it's following their dream. But the reason they don't do that, and they think, well, I have to have this secure job rather than going for this startup company or whatever it is because they don't see, okay, if I do work, I'm going to get paid straight away for it. So, like, how did you deal with that in business, but also property? Because I know it's a big thing in property. If people put their mind to it in property, and the guys that do, they make a lot of money and they add a lot of value. But people don't, from what I see, because they're like, oh, I keep taking this action, but I'm not sure when the money's coming. How did you deal with that?
Well, I moved, I think, about 7 times ourselves. So it was quite lucrative, because we could we did our first house up and then got married and then sold it. But we had ambition. I didn't want to be in a terrace house with no garage, you know. It's right on the street. So Marilyn wanted a front garden, a semi-detached house, you know, and a place to put your car. So that drove us. So we sold that first house at £2,100 and bought a derelict semi-detached house just down the road in the better area for £2,000. Did that up, and then we went from that to a detached house, you know. So you keep going up and down, up and down. So you're living in the house, doing it up, and then as soon as the paint dries on the last brushful, you put it up for sale. And a lot of people won't, because they say, no, that's my house, you know, and I love my house, and yeah, I loved every house, and I but did I want a semi-detached house? No, I wanted a detached house. You know, Marilyn wanted it in the country, so we was able to sell the townhouse and go to the country, it was more money, but it was cheaper than buying one in the town, the same, you know, same type of house. So you have to make, well, I won't say sacrifices, because it looks like sacrifices, but it was exciting, because people who didn't do it didn't realize how much you was making. And of course, if it's your own house, it was tax free. And we did that over and over and over again. And that's how we did it, because there was a want. You know, there's a want, and if there's a want, there's a need. There's a need to do whatever you got to do to make that want come true. So and it's good. It's good exercise. I still work now because I need the exercise. I want the exercise, and I want the brain to work, and I want to teach people. And you know, it never stops. It doesn't, because it's exciting. I don't want to sit on the couch doing nothing, you know.
Yeah, so like, whether it's in business, and we're going to talk a little bit more about business, because we've heard about this 37p, but people want to know about the 100 million, so we'll get to that. Yeah. So nice. Whether it's business, whether it's property, whether it's training people in property or business, or whatever you're training them in, lots of people, they come and go. Like, they dip their toe in, or they try and make it happen, and then they disappear. What is it that makes someone successful in any of these industries?
Well, I had some good mentors. If you look on my website, nevillewright.com, you'll see some of my mentors. And I was told a long time ago, God give you 2 ears and 1 mouth, use them in those proportions. Well, of course, I don't now. I use them in the opposite proportions, but I suppose I'm allowed to. But a lot of people do it the opposite way around. They know everything. But they've got nothing. So therefore, you know, and they're not prepared to give. So you must give. You must be prepared to help people, and in turn, it helps yourself. So you know, it's I forgot the question. This is what happens when you're 72. You forget a bloody question.
Well, not many people knew that until you said, because of, you know, your electric and energy that you still have. So the question is, like, in the industries of property investing or training or even coaching, like, people, they come and go, but what truly does make someone successful?
Right. Well, I tell you what. After 3 years, Marilyn said, "Well, I'll do the bookwork in an office," and so we found this office. It was a terraced house, and some people were living in this road, and some people were made offices of their houses, and some had shops. So then she said, "Oh, it'll only take me a couple of hours to do the books in the daytime, you know, instead of doing it at night. I'll sell something." So we decided we'd got £300 saved up. This was after 3 years, £300 saved up. And it was like, we'd buy secondhand prams, because that's what we'd had for our daughter, secondhand pram, secondhand cot. So we thought, well, there's other people in the town selling new stuff. We'll you know, get a bit of extra money. And that took off. And then within a year, we'd been running about like mad, because then we sold new stuff, and we sold clothes and toys. And what happened is the accountant said, "Well, you've made nothing." So we decided, well, we're not retailers, we know nothing about that, so we'll get out of it. So as I was selling the shop, a rep came in on the Friday, and I said, "I won't see you anymore, Carl." This is in my book as well. "Won't see you anymore because we sold the shop." And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because we're not making any money." And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because we're in the wrong place." We was having fish and chips in the back of the shop, and he put his fish and chips down, and he picked me up. He was about 30, so he picked me up by the scruff of my neck, and he took me outside, and he, like a rag doll, he swung me around. He said, "You're on the main street at Peterborough, all the cars coming in, all the cars coming out," and he says, you're in the wrong position. You know, it's you that's wrong, not the area, not the cars. Now, he was shaking me about, telling me that he'd seen us work so hard for a year, and now he's giving it all up. He wasn't bothered about himself. He was passionate about me and my business. And that was the first spark of passion in business that I saw, and I want to replicate that, because he saved me on that day. He did. And I went back into the shop and I said to Marilyn, we're not selling. Well, she didn't want to sell anyway, you know, because she liked it. But we changed our attitude and changed our mind. And also in that afternoon, we put everything out. We hung toys and stuff from the windows, and we put prams on the pavement, and we made a display. So as people come along, they could see it wasn't just a terrace house. It was, you know, there was something going on. And so therefore we kept that, and within a year we'd grown it so much that we couldn't get anybody else in the shop because it was so tiny and it was so packed, that we sold it as a going concern. So we capitalized on it, and then we went into a place 5 times the size. But it was people, you know, throughout my life, I've had mentors that have taught me so much and give me inspiration to do things and inspiration not to stop. And then because people get down, they get despondent. You know, they've done so much work, they've put so much effort in, they've put so much money in, and nothing's working. But of course, you have to go through this very often, because this is what happens. You don't know what you don't know, and you probably don't know enough. And so therefore something clicks, and something clicked with him, with me, when he was telling me, I've seen you work so hard, don't give up now. And what it was, he wasn't just telling me, he was passionate about my success, and he wouldn't get nothing out of it. You know, it wasn't like he was doing it to get money. It was like he was thinking of us. So that's where a lot of people don't think of other people, and very often, so they won't tell people, and they go, well, it's up to them, you know, whatever they do. Well, what do you think? Well, I think they're stupid, but you know, they should have carried on. But why didn't you tell them? Well, it's nothing to do with me. And this is how the conversation goes on. And this is why I want to be a teacher, and I've tried to teach all my life my knowledge. And people are afraid to teach their knowledge because they think somebody else is going to grab whatever you've got, and they're afraid, and they'll keep it all together. It's like people having money, and they've worked quite hard, they've got their house, they've paid the mortgage off, and they say, that's it, finished, I'm not. And you go, but you've just said you would like a property company. You know, this is what people say. You'd like a property company, or you'd like to make some money like I've done. But why don't you remortgage your house? And they go, I'm not risking that. And you go, well, of course you're not, because you're afraid. So that's good. So let somebody else who's not afraid to do it. You've only got one life. You've only got one life, and why not go for it? And if it fails, then you do something else, and again and again and again. Because when you're in, sorry to ramble on so much, but when you're in a job, which is a lot of people, I mean, I employed 125 people in that shop, in that one shop, 125 people, and they all loved it. But if you're despondent, if you don't like what you're doing, then get out, because a job is just over broke and you're never going to make it. And you've got to be happy in a job. And if you're not happy, then go, because it's just over broke, and that boss can close that shop down, or that industry down, or the government can close that industry down overnight, and you're out of a job. So you've got no more security than anybody else. I've got more security working on my own, because I could answer to the customer, and I was responsible. I'd got more security than any of the 17 jobs I had, even though I run away from them, you know, but I hadn't got any security in any of them.
So I'm super interested about this, because as business owners, both of us here, this is the message is the same. What we say is like, you know, you got to take control. So what about the people who are working in our businesses? What's the message there, or how do we keep that tie? I'd love to hear from you on that one.
Well, if they don't like what they're doing, if one of the worst types of people there are who work for you is the people who are dissatisfied. Why should I work for this person when he's getting all the money and I'm doing all the work? Because this is, I used to work in places. Some of them I used to like, but I didn't like the people because in the 60s they were very unionized. And in some of the big factories, the motto was never shit in your own time and never sweat in the works time. And if you hear that enough, that's what you believe. And you become one of those people who are disgruntled, they don't like the job, everything's not fair, blah, blah, blah. And they're the people who can kill your business and drive you mad. They want to be out. So therefore, if you've got to have people who want security and you give them security and they want enough money to do what they want to do, but they need training. So you've got to give them enough money, security, so they're not scared, they're not going to run away, and training. They're the three things you need to give them. And one other thing is they need responsibility. So there's 4 things there they need. And when they take on the responsibility that they can cope with, then it all comes together. They're in a secure place, they can make decisions, they're happy, and the money is fine, you know, and that's what majority of people want. And anybody else who's disrupting, it's no good for your business. You need to help them. And I used to bring the local paper with about 40 pages of jobs and put it on their desk and say, I'm sure there's something here that you would like far better than here, because you obviously don't like it here, you know. And a lot of people was grateful for that, because you give them a push and then you see them a few years later. I saw somebody at a party, not last night, the night before, who used to work for us. I'm not saying too much, but he was crap at his job. He hated every minute of it. He was in the wrong job. And now he's happy. You know, he's just 20 years later, he's happy. And there's either no end of people who come and they're just searching. They're like us, searching. And we're all searching for the next thing. We're searching for the next deal. We're searching for, you know, some thinking life. And a lot of people would say, Neville, I wouldn't want that. And have said to me, I wouldn't want that because it's insecure. You never know what you're going to do from day to day, you know. And I want to know what I'm going to do day after day after day, and I'm happy. Well, that's fine. Everybody's got a place. They've just got to find the place. And if they're and you've got to help them as an employer, you've got to help them, and you've got to find your place. So if you can give them security and money and train them, give them a responsibility, you know, they're happy. And of course, you then move to the next stage and the next stage and the next stage, because you're growing your business. And some can't cope with that. And so there's some turmoil, and you have to get a new team. And hopefully that if you've got a team of 3 or 4 or 5, only one leaves. And then that you get a bigger team, and then only 2 or 3 leaves, because they can't always cope with you. They can't cope with what's going on. They want to keep everything the same. And it's the same when people say to their mates, oh, I'm going self-employed, and they go, oh, I wouldn't if I were you, because it's security is not there and you don't know when you're getting. No, what they're saying is, fuck me, if you go and have your own business, then where does it leave me? Have I got to follow? No, you come back, because it's easier for you to sit here with me and we are just the same. But if you go and make your own destiny, then I feel that I should, but I don't want to. I'm scared. And you've got to leave the scared people behind sometimes, you know, because you don't want to be sitting there like a scared rabbit, you know, all the time. And you need to be going on your adventures. And if a fox is after you, then you got to run quicker.
Yeah, for sure.
Or the dogs, the hounds.
And I love that conversation around, but if everybody was entrepreneur, then nobody would be here to work with each other and all the rest of it. But like, I love working with other entrepreneurs, and like you say, not everybody is willing to put their neck on the line, and raise, millions of pounds in business and have those conversations with banks and have that risk and that like, whoa, like I've got to be able to pay this, I've got to be able to pay people at the end of the month. And not everybody's willing to do that, but they are willing to, like you said, have that place, have that security, and add great value to the company. So like this is an awesome realization that people, when they have it, is a big thing. And we always say, like, look, our goals for a business, you use these goals as a vehicle to get what you want in life. If you don't see that, like, you're in the wrong place. If you don't see that our goals as a business are your vehicle to get whatever it is that you want, and everyone wants, weird and wonderful things, right?
Yeah.
So next question really is, have, like, all through your growth, so first of all, let's tell us about the growth, and I've got a question about that growth. So you first of all sold it, and give us like the streamlined version of how did you get to from 37p to 100 million? Like, what was the business and how did you grow that and exit that?
Right. So the first business we sold was in 1980. That was the first retail shop that we sold. It's called Rainbow Warehouse, and we just outgrew it. So in those days, you could go 5 miles down the road and start another one, because there was no internet. There was enough people around to be able to, for the first one to carry on growing, and for the second one to, expand. So we started the next one in 1980, sold the first one, and then we grew that. So instead of having 2 people in the shop, 2 assistants in the shop, we ended up with 15. And then we got another one. We created another one, and then we created another one. When we had 3, then we sold two of them, because we decided that everybody, no, we didn't decide. No, everybody seemed to be having multiple shops. This was in the late 80s, in the 80s, 85, 86. Everybody was on the high street. There was having hundreds of shops, and all the high streets started to look the same. So we followed suit. And then I realized you shouldn't be following people, because Marilyn said, why did we start this business? We started this business because we had 2 businesses then. We had the property maintenance business and we had the shops. And then she said, it was getting too much. We didn't go into this business not to work together. And we wasn't working together by then. So we wanted to. So we decided our lifestyle, and I suppose this is where you come work-life balance. And so we sold 2 shops as going concern, separate. So that's the 3 shops we sold. You do what you want to do. A lot of people get on this treadmill and they do things that it drags them along. And you shouldn't be doing it, because now and again you got to stand still and say, what am I doing? And of course we had the building business, and that was I should have sold that, but I didn't. It's been going 47 years now, and but I could have sold it over and over and over again. I could have done, but I don't know why. We just never thought of selling it. We just clung hold of it. But we did alter it. We did. We was working for other people. And then we had to make that decision. Do we expand that business? And we'd already got the shop, but do we expand the business and get a lot more people and then start doing civil engineering works and stuff like that? Remember, I started off as a bloody window cleaner, and now we was doing contracts for schools and things like that, and building extensions. The next stage was to build houses and to do road works and stuff. And we said, no, we don't want to do that. And one of the reasons was I quite liked Saturdays, because Saturdays I was in the shop, and I could never understand, how can you make money when you're in a suit? Because that was alien to me, and I liked it, and I liked serving customers. Although people used to say in those days, "What's a boy doing a girl's job? Are you a girl?" I think now you could say, "Yeah, I am," or whatever. But in those days, it was a bit embarrassing, because even when Marilyn was on the building sites, people used to say, "What's a girl doing on the building site?" They never used to say to her, "Are you a boy?" because they could see. Anyway, the thing is, we decided to make it into an investment company from a maintenance company. So I stopped, and one of the worst days of my life was when I had to go round and give all of our regular customers their keys back, because they used to give us their keys, and we used to do their maintenance when there was, especially the decorating, when I was on holiday. And I had to give them all, and every one of them said, "Can you just work for me? Can you just do my work?" And it was a kind of real hard thing. I hated it, to say, "I'm sorry, we have to part, and and we're doing the concentrating on our own work now." And that was one of the worst days of my life, to give those keys back to people. Yeah, because I thought I was letting them down, and I was letting them down. But I couldn't be sending somebody out to put a latch on a gate and then having to go and give them an invoice or go and inspect it. It wasn't worth it. We was going fast. We was, every day changed. Every day the business changed, and we was running. We had our goals. We had our long-term goals, and a medium term and a short term, and day-to-day goals, and hour-to-hour goals, and minute-to-minute goals. So we'd always had our 50-year goals to survive, and 20-year goals to have our Rolls Royces and all that kind of stuff, and 5-year goals to get a bigger shop and a bigger and to be millionaires and all that kind of stuff. And but we had our monthly goals to beat last year, and a weekly goals to do the same, and to bring more product in, and to get what the customer wanted, satisfy the customer's needs all the time. And that was a minute-to-minute goal.
So then you started growing the investment company, and you'd grown had it changed to kiddie care by then?
Yeah, because in 1980, when we sold Rainbow Warehouse, I thought, what's the best nursery shop in the world? And it's Mother Care. So, I mean, you couldn't help but admire them, and we wanted to emulate them. Is that the word? We wanted to be like them, but not have lots, because they ended up with 400 shops. But we knew we couldn't give the service if we did that. We wanted our own shop and be together. We like working together. And so what was the nearest name to Mother Care? Well, Kiddie Care, and that's how we got Kiddie Care. And then the next two shops that we sold, we said that we were selling the name with it, and the two people go, "Oh, we don't want that. I've got my own name." That's what they say. "I've got my own." Go, "But that's worth so much money." And they go, no, it's not. Yes, it is. Anyway, we was able to keep the name, and it carried on. And then in 2007, I changed it to kiddiecare.com. I mean, it never actually legally changed. I just changed it. We got the website in 1999. That's what, 1999. We got the website. And that was Kiddie Care. But when we changed to the massive building that we built in Hampton, that's when we changed to kiddiecare.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So so that's what we did. We still got the property portfolio, and it was like, I think 12 years before we, from start to keeping our first property. In fact, there were 6 shops. So we still got those 6 shops. They cost 72,000 to build, and we get 36,000 rent off them every year. So every 2 years it pays for itself, you know, and they're worth a lot more than 72,000 now. They're worth probably, I don't know, 120,000 a shop. So they're worth 600,000 and 700,000. Yeah. And we've had that over 25 years or whatever it may be, maybe 30 years now. So that was quite a good investment.
So we want to like just wrap it up with some quick fire questions.
Yeah. Go on then.
So the first one is, okay, so what's the state of play now? You sold these businesses, that's how you got to the 100 million, and now you're focusing on what?
Yeah. So since 2011, we've invested in businesses, and we've created businesses. So we've sold 2 since then, and we've just been building properties. In one company, we built 600 houses and sold them, and then we sold the company. And then in another company, we've been renovating old barns and selling and doing new housing and selling. But our main business, I won't be long, Marilyn. Can I have a glass of wine? Is it possible to have a glass of wine? Oh, she's gone. I'm supposed to be making pizzas. Anyway, so we build sheds. And when you talk to most people about a shed, they think it's a wooden shed you have in your garden. But we're talking about bloody big ones, you know, like 100,000 square foot sheds, metal sheds, yeah, industrial buildings. So that's what we're doing. We do a lot of that. We've got about 100. Marilyn. Yes. This is Marilyn. Hello, this is my boss. Hi. Oh, no, my water's all right. I'm going to get this. All right, thank you. I'm not going to be that long. I've just put wood on. All right. Okay, I'll be there in a minute. This is quick fire questions, so I'm not very quick. Anyway, so we're building industrial units. We are. We've got 2 80,000 square foot units for tenants that want them, and then we'll rent them to them. And so that's in the pipeline, and 240,000 square foot of industrial, and that's in a JV with a friend of mine. So and then lots of just loads of other bits and pieces that John wants to know if you should ring Domino's. Ring Domino's? No, bloody shouldn't. I'll make him a good pizza. Sorry. I forgot we were doing this because it's supposed to be last week, and the internet was off last week, wasn't it? Somebody
broke the internet. So here's some quick fire questions so we can wrap up. So did you ever go through a phase of like either a bit of destruction or inactivity, like through your growth? Do you ever
Oh yeah. When it got good, and you got complacent, and you got bigger than your boots, I think they call it, arrogant. You know, that's not good. That is not. Remember where you come from. Remember how to dig a hole, straight sides, clean bottom. Remember, don't get too bloody big for your boots and look down at anybody, because, you know, as things go, they could be looking down on you and could be employing you. And you never know in life. So, yes, I spent £280,000 in the early 90s 1 year on cars, just to get me out of bed, really. I thought if I got a new car and another new car, then it would make me get out. No, it doesn't. And it's like, yeah. So then I called myself stupid, you know, because I'd lost the plot. Yeah. And sometimes you lose the plot and you forget about helping people. And it's, you know, anyway, that was short-lived. So that was good that it was short-lived. But you get complacent, things go down, you go, shit, you know, I was making so much money last year, now we're not. And when you take your eye off the ball and play Jack the Lad or whatever, you know, however you want to call it, things go wrong. Businesses don't run themselves. we always used to, from then, we always used to have this thing, you know, this little snowstorms you can buy, and you shake them, and it's Father Christmas in this little globe. So we used to have this analogy of you shaking the snowstorm all the time. That's your business. You're shaking it up all the time. You put it on your desk, and you go out, and it's coming down. The snow's coming down. By the time you get to the airport, because we used to have holidays every 3 weeks, you know, abroad. Then this, you know, that was and while the was it say, while the cat's away, the mice will play. Anyway, so therefore it was a good, you know, we always came back to a business, but you never know, do you? So by the time we was at the airport, it was flat. So what I'm saying, it doesn't matter how good your business is or how, you know, our inflation proof or whatever it may be, somebody has got to be thinking, what's going to happen in 5 years' time? You know, how's the business going to look in 5 years' time? And well, a lot of people say, well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep my business and keep it running. I'm going to retire. I'm going to go, you know, drink a few beers on the beach and everything's going to be right. No, bloody sell it, because as sure as eggs are eggs, that snowstorm is going to go down flat and you ain't going to have any dividends at the end of the following year. So just be careful for those people who are thinking that they can run a business from the beach. Maybe you can, but I've never been able to.
Awesome.
Next.
2 questions. So like when you're growing, yeah, and you start making loads of money, and you did that because you were applying yourself a lot, taking a lot of action, does it ever get lonely?
No, because I was working with Marilyn, and then was working with our 2 girls. They finished work. They finished school at 13. They come straight into the business, and they were absolute super. They'd been working in the business since they was 10, and you know, and for money, for a wage packet, you know. So yeah, if you want your kids to go into business with you, make sure you pay them from when they're babies, really, if they work. Yeah. So sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind sometimes, but they were fabulous. Now it wasn't lonely because I'd got Marilyn, and 2 heads are better than 3 or 4. Then I've got the girls, Elaine and Joanne. Then I've got the my son-in-law, first son-in-law come in, and then I'd got also a team around me and been there for a long time. So therefore there was like family, and so therefore it wasn't never lonely in that way, because I'm a kind of person who can tell you, you know, Marilyn is quiet and keeps herself to herself, but I could meet a stranger at a bus stop and tell them my life story and then ask them their opinion, you know. So therefore, you know, it wasn't a lonely situation until maybe 2008, when the shit hit the fan and there was the worst recession in history, I believe, and we owed about 14 million pounds, and the bank was knocking on the door, even though the only reason they wanted the money back is because I was paying 0.80 over base for their privilege of having the money. It wasn't that I owed them it, you know, that I forfeited on whatever payments. So it was a lonely time then, in that way. And I must say the only friend I had was not a very good friend, and that was alcohol, and that was very bad. But this is the time when you probably read in my book that we lived for 26 years in like a mansion, and it was really, really nice. It was, and we had to leave that in a week. I had to sell it in a week and put them, because I'd sold everything else to put the money in the business that was going downhill rapidly, and I didn't want to get rid of any of the staff. And so we piled money in, and the only thing was left was Marilyn's, what I used to call Marilyn's house, because I didn't want to be responsible for selling it. So, and we lived in the office for 2.5 years. So it doesn't matter how big you get, how great you get, how much money you get, how many Ferraris and Rolls Royces and shit you've got, sometimes they all have to go, you know. And we had a choice: do we look after ourselves or look after 100 people? And they and we thought long and hard about it for about 10 seconds, and both come to the same conclusion that those people was worth far more than anything. And we had to throw everything away or sell everything and put it into the business and go and live in that our office for 2.5 years, which we did. You know, and people would ring me and say, "Gosh, you was working late," and go, "Yeah, we actually live there." You know, as they come along the motorway and they could see our lights and they could see us in the office.
Awesome. Hey, so we better wrap up before they call Domino's. One last question. We'll sign off on this question. So before I ask this question, thank you so much. It's been wonderful. Loads of people have been on here watching, commenting. You added so much value, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I know you're really passionate about that as well, so thank you so much. So last question is, we have this saying, and we say that we can never let people forget that they've got to do the right thing for the right reason. Now, why is that?
The right thing for the well, if I didn't, my mother would come down from heaven and punish me. Yeah. So I've always got that in mind, that you just do it naturally because that's the way you've been brought up, and why not? And you've got, I don't know, you just can't help people and do your best, and yeah, because you're going to be questioned on this when you and I've got less time than you, so we're going to be questioned on this when we go to meet our maker. So that's what you've got to do right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have this saying where we say you got to do the right thing for the right reason because it's the because it's the only way you discover your true potential. Can you say that for us?
Yeah.
Okay, so I ask you,
right,
you're going to do the right thing for the right reason.
Right thing for the right reason to discover your potential. Yeah. Hey, I'm not very good. Hey, I'm not very good copying, so I have to be unique.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, and I hope somebody's got something out of it, and I'll have succeeded.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. We know they know where to go and get this. You can go to NevilleWright.com. And or is it?
It all goes. The money goes to charity. And I'll tell you what: if you don't laugh while you're reading it, and don't cry, because you'll laugh and you will. I think you'll laugh and you'll cry. And if you don't, I'll give you your money back.
Even if it's a scripture here. That's you in Las Vegas. Looks like.
What's that?
It looks like you're in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. Yeah. Well, you read it and you'll find that it's the last. It's what's in your mind. Yeah, that was a dreadful situation. That was, but there we are. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Neville. You've added lots of value here, and thank you everyone for joining us. This has been Real Life Money Monday. This has been myself, Mark Harvey, and Neville Wright on this panel this evening. Thank you so much, and we'll see you all again soon.
Thank you. Bye.